America and the world reels from a shocker. A Republican presidential debate where there were actually issues discussed. Nobody talked about body part size, and the clown car was actually parked outside the building with the ignition off. So with the fog of frivolity lifted, did we actually learn anything new? The escalating violence at Donald Trump rallies is nothing new. We've witnessed it up close and personal for weeks. But there is a bigger question than why it happens. Why is it permitted, and why is it also being encouraged? Hillary Clinton would seek to encourage voters how she is all about ending the practice of fracking within the United States. Yet there seems to be something amiss if you review where she's getting some of her money from. And because it's Friday, let us back up on the week we have witnessed, slap on the gloves, and slap at the political punching bag as only we can. Let's see how good your footwork is in dodging the shots from those who seek your demise. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Friday, March 11th, 2016.
You know, it would be nice to finish off with this one. I thought CNN did a fantastic job last night. I thought that Jake was a great moderator. It was just a really nice way to finish off the debate season. But I really think it's enough debates.
Donald Trump wants everyone to believe that he is the unifier of the Republican Party, and there is evidence he would seem to be bringing various opinions together in what would normally be the welcome manner of going after the Democrats. But there is also evidence that his can't-miss path to the nomination is tattering just enough of the edges to make it interesting. As another debate is done, another key voting day looms, and one word is so overused in this POTUS cycle you wonder if anybody knows what it really means. Hey, we mean business. Let's see if you can handle the truth. She is political analyst for the National Journal. Her most recent article should send a caution to the GOP, entitled Trump's Women Problem. Welcome, Karyn Bruggeman. He is senior political analyst at the Washington Examiner and co-author of the Almanac of American Politics. Welcome, Michael Barone. I want to thank you both for being here, and let's get to work. Michael, I start with you. Donald Trump says he is the unifier. He seeks unity. You buying it, or is this a con job?
Well, I think it's more of a wish than an actual fact at this point. I mean, one of the things we've seen in this primary cycle is that unlike previous frontrunners and nominees in the Republican Party contest, Donald Trump's percentages haven't gone up as candidates have exited the race. That's if you average them all together. And there's a lot of evidence that Donald Trump is not acceptable to a large minority and perhaps a majority of Republican primary voters. If that's true, he may very well, even with good results on Tuesday, have not missed the 1,237 delegate majority. And if he falls visibly short of that, I think there's a good chance that another candidate will be nominated.
Karyn, that leads us right to you when it comes down to unifying the party and your article. If the celebrity businessman is nominated, a segment of Republican women could stay home or even weigh casting a vote for Hillary Clinton. That sends shockwaves up and down the spine of Republicans here. But you talk about the offensive things he said, so many things that he has said about women. That is a huge part of the electorate that nobody seems to be paying attention to, and you believe they are already looking elsewhere.
That's exactly right. I mean, to this point, people have mostly been talking about how Trump really appeals to working-class white men. But if he is the Republican nominee and lands himself in a race against Hillary Clinton, this will be a big problem. And he said a lot of things that have been offensive to a lot of women in his decades in public life. And even his business practices. He owned a stake in a casino that had a strip club in it. He said that lawyer and attorney who was a new mom who had to take a break to breast pump during a deposition was disgusting. There are just a lot of things that he said that could offend many different types of women, including Republicans. And there are some Republican women, maybe suburban, college-educated women, who could find him so unpalatable that they either want to sit it out or maybe weigh casting a vote for Clinton. There are other Republican women, maybe evangelical women, women of faith, who might find Donald Trump offensive because he has been twice divorced, he's had an affair, he just doesn't line up with the typical qualities that you would expect as a family values Republican. So in that vein, Donald Trump really could turn away a lot of women if he's the candidate in November.
Another group he's got to get to is African Americans. Now, Dr. Ben Carson, having dropped out of the race, has said that he will now back Donald Trump. Donald Trump was not kind at all. He was rather rude in many cases to Dr. Carson when they were both going up against each other. Here's some of the things that Donald Trump said about the doctor.
I'm a deal maker. I'll make great deals for this country. Ben can't do that. Ben's a doctor, and he's not a deal maker.
You don't cure these people. You don't cure a child molester. There's no cure for it. Pathological, there's no cure for that.
He went after a friend, and he lunged that knife into the stomach of his friends, but lo and behold, it hit the belt. It hit the belt, and the knife broke. Give me a break.
All right, now we're going to put this all in perspective here, because another former foe, that's what he was at one point. But now Dr. Carson says the two have buried the hatchet and become friends. Here's what he said.
There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of.
Michael, since this has happened already, you are seeing social media light up and a lot of people questioning about the hypocrisy behind this. Because Trump went after the doctor basically said in many ways that Donald Trump was not worthy to be president, and now there's this inkling out there that maybe Donald Trump has promised education secretary to Ben Carson. How are we supposed to deal with what people see, Michael, here as nothing but rampant political hypocrisy?
Well, the previous speaker said that Donald Trump has done many things to antagonize women. He's also done many things to antagonize men. And one of the things you see when you have out-of-the-ordinary candidates, whether it's George Wallace, Ross Perot, or Donald Trump, they tend to get more support from men who tend to be less risk-averse and less support from women. I think that, the idea that he's promising cabinet posts or something, which if he did it literally would actually be illegal, is the least of Donald Trump's problems here with the endorsement from Ben Carson, like the endorsement from Chris Christie, who had said earlier that Trump was totally unfit to be president. I think Trump claims to have brought a lot of new people into the primary, and he's absolutely correct when he says that the Republican primaries have attracted more voters substantially than in 2012 and 2008. That in almost every contest outside Massachusetts and Vermont, they've attracted more voters than the Democratic contests have. I think he's wrong when he suggests that all those new voters are his. Some of them are. He claims to be able to bring them into the electorate. There's not much polling evidence for that. He's running behind Hillary Clinton by about 5 points in the Politics.com average of recent polls, whereas Marco Rubio is running ahead by about 5 points and Ted Cruz by 1.5 points. So I think there are a lot of still unanswered questions. We did see Donald Trump pivot to a more placid Donald Trump, the kind that people, not only Ben Carson, have said they know in private. Whether this will take with the public is unclear.
All right, Karen, let me come to you and ask you the same question, though. Is this, you look at Dr. Carson, he said, I now support Donald Trump. Chris Christie said the same thing even after the two of them went after each other. So are we looking here at real hypocrisy, or is this just political opportunism that everybody has been practicing for hundreds of years?
I think it's the same political opportunism we've seen before. And the fact of the matter is, even if Donald Trump has been endorsed by Ben Carson or Chris Christie, the vast majority of elected officials, former candidates, have gone to other Republican candidates like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, picking up his first Senate endorsement the other day from Utah Senator Mike Lee. Donald Trump does not have much establishment support or support from people from institutions or government. So these are really the exceptions to the rule. He has a couple of congressmen who have endorsed him, but Donald Trump is really lacking for support from the establishment. And a lot of people have started to come out and say that they wouldn't vote for him if he's the nominee. They would just sit it out, like Ben Sasse, the senator from Nebraska. Mitt Romney has just disparaged Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's going to have a lot of problems if he's the nominee. Even though he's appealed to two of his former rivals, there's a lot of work that he would have cut out for him.
All right, 2 minutes left. Here's something else now, and this is another issue that we're talking about today. Donald Trump made some headlines with some comments about Islam yesterday. First with Anderson Cooper, then with Jake Tapper during the CNN debate. Here's what he said.
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there.
Do you want to clarify the comment at all?
Well, I've been watching the debate today, and they're talking about radical Islamic terrorism or radical Islam, but I will tell you there's something going on that maybe you don't know about and maybe a lot of other people don't know about, but there's tremendous hatred, and I will stick with exactly what I said to Anderson Cooper.
Karyn, I got about 45 seconds to you. First of all, people are already up in arms about this, but is it not fair to say this is the base of Donald Trump? When he says these things, they work for him every time, at least up until now.
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing new. This is the same guy who led the charge on the birther claim and wanted to see President Obama's birth certificate. This is the same man who said that Muslims were celebrating in the streets after 9/11 in New York City. So he says whatever he wants to say, whether it's grounded in fact or not. And for a lot of his supporters, it churns up racial resentment and ethnic resentment that, even if it's not factually accurate, I think feels true to some people who support him. So he's not really going with the facts. It's more of an emotional statement, but that doesn't excuse what he said. And Marco Rubio in the debate last night pointed that out. He said, you know, this isn't about being politically correct. This is just about being correct. And what Donald Trump said is not correct.
Michael, I only got about 20 seconds left. I hate to do it in a short time, but to you, does anybody really know what the word establishment means anymore? It gets thrown around every single day that we hate the establishment.
I've been looking around Washington for the establishment, and I've come up empty. Minor correction on Karyn. Trump's allegation was about New Jersey, not New York. But I think this is an example of Trump using the kind of imprecision, that imprecise language that Republicans have attacked Barack Obama for. They claim rightly that Obama will not call radical Islam or jihadism by its name. That's a good complaint. It could also be applied to George W. Bush.
10 seconds.
Trump saying Islam, it's not all of Islam. It's certain radical forms of Islam. That's imprecise, too, and causes problems for the reason that Karyn referred to and that Rubio cited.
We're out of time, but the conversation will continue. Michael Barone, Karyn Bruggeman, thanks so much for joining us. You make sure you join us Saturday morning right here on Newsmax. Battleground, Florida, live from Miami. Cafe Versailles will be the place. We'll be there, and we'll talk to the voters and the people that they might be voting for right here on Newsmax.